Welcome, cyber people. My name is Gavin. We're going to go ahead and get started today on how to use the basics of WireShark. If you have not seen my last video, it just kind of explains my basic network, but here it is again, just a real quick Cliff Notes version. My Raspberry Pi is housing my Samba server and my Apache server. My Linux router is pretty straightforward, just basically handles the traffic between my Raspberry Pi and my school laptop. It's pretty simple to configure. You could do some Googling and probably figure it out pretty soon on how to set all these things up. But if you have any questions, you can send me an email, or if you go to class with me, you could even just ask me in class. But let's go ahead and get started with WireShark. I have not covered how to install WireShark, as it is pretty easy. You can just go to their main page and click on their downloads folder, and you should find some information there on how to download it onto your whatever operating system you're using. I'm using the Mac operating system, which I think is the greatest operating system, but that's an argument for an entire another video. So we're just going to talk about WireShark today, though. So as you can see when you start WireShark, you see a whole bunch of interfaces down here. Today we're just going to be talking about the Wi-Fi interface, since that's where all my traffic is happening. But if you do have things that are happening on different interfaces, you could also sniff those interfaces. So for example, if you have internet access via a plugged-in Ethernet cable on your machine, you could actually packet sniff or monitor the information happening on that interface. But today, since all the stuff's happening on Wi-Fi, we're going to double-click the Wi-Fi interface. So this will be a good opportunity to actually go through and show you what traffic happens, what traffic happens on the network. So to start, we're going to go to my Apache machine. Okay, so here's my Apache machine. It's nothing special, just the basic default configuration page, just to let you know that the configuration actually worked. Nothing really to click on here, except maybe this thing. Not even sure what that goes to. That might go to an external place. Yep, you can see right there on the bottom left of the screen that's going to apache.org, which is not going to happen since my network is not connected to the internet. So we're just going to X on that. Now I'm going to show you my Samba page, or excuse me, my Samba server. We're just connecting to Raspberry Pi /share. And then we're going to do the guest account, simple password. Okay, so you can see really the only things I've been putting on my Samba server is just pictures and like a simple video. So nothing really crazy there. But now that we've used my Wi-Fi interface to get to some different places, let's go back to our WireShark page or WireShark window and just see what's happened there. So let's scroll over. Okay, so now you can see there is a ton of stuff that has just happened. Most of it is the SMB traffic. But this is kind of interesting to note, just because it's a really great opportunity to see what happens on your computer on the back end. Everyone looks at computers and just says, oh, if it's just sitting there, it's not really doing a whole lot of stuff. But really, there's a whole lot of things happening in the background. If you scroll down on WireShark, it will automatically update as things happen. Since I'm not really going to my SMB or my Apache part right now, there's not really a whole lot happening, just except for some background stuff between my router and my Mac machine. But I already have a saved packet capture file we're going to be using today. So we're going to quit this one and open up the one that I've saved from earlier. Continue without saving. And go back to here. Okay, so this is one I saved from earlier. So first off, let's check out what's happening between my Mac machine and my Apache server. So what you can do up here in this little display bar is you can apply filters. So if I wanted to, I could filter by IP address. You can filter by the protocol. There's really a whole ton of filters out there that I'm not going to go over all of them right now. As you can see, there's just tons of stuff right here. But right now, we're just going to filter by HTTP traffic, since I used HTTP to get to my Apache server. So if you double click on this, you can see a whole bunch of information on it. This is all the hex code information, the hex characters that is passed in between here. And if you click on this little frame thing, you can see as you go down, you can see what parts of hex contain what. So you can see here the source and destination of the request came from my Raspberry Pi. The destination is as the destination, and the source is my Mac. So this was actually using my MAC address rather than an IP address. But just some basic information. We're not going to get super deep into that today, but let's go. So if you're doing this by yourself, you can actually follow along with me. You can right click on the packet and you can go to follow and see HTTP stream. So this is kind of interesting to see. If we go back here to my Apache page, we can see all this stuff that's right here, but really all this stuff that we see in the WireShark, this is what was sent to my machine, and then this is what was built from that. So just to kind of show you what I'm talking about, we can see Apache 2 Debian default page. Let's search for that within our packet. So you can see right here, Apache 2 Debian default page. So this means my Raspberry Pi Apache server sent all this HTML and CSS code to my browser to build all this. So essentially this is what it built. So my machine sent the request saying, hey, I want to see this web page, and then the web server sent this back to my machine saying, here's the code to build it. And we can see that in WireShark. And you can do similar things too, and what makes WireShark so interesting is that by seeing this kind of information, we can understand what, say if it's being used for malicious purposes, attackers can use it to see information on a network. So if I were doing banking information on a network that was not secure, like my Apache machine, that could be very dangerous, especially if there's some important credentials being passed across the network. Where I work, I've actually investigated something one time where there are people in our company using an FTP server, and FTP is not a very secure protocol, and we could actually see the username and passwords being sent across the network, which is not very good. So that's just one little example. So let's go back to here. Let's filter by SMB, which is what, oh, excuse me, so we're going to use SMB version 2 actually. SMB is a protocol that's used for most file servers, which is what my Samba server is. And we can see all along here that there were some negotiations. So my machine was saying, hey, I want to connect with you, and then you can see it's just alternating between the Raspberry Pi and my Mac. If we keep going down, we can start to see that there are requests to show the files that are on this Apache server, excuse me, Samba server. So you can see there's like samba.jpg, there's sample video, and if we go along here, we should be able to find one of those things. So you can see right here, sample video. So this is my computer saying to the Samba server, hey, I want to see you preview this video. So this is what happened. This is what was sent over. But in this specific protocol, since it is an encrypted protocol, we won't actually be able to see anything between my Mac and my Samba server. But once we keep going, you can see that all the traffic is encrypted, and that's a little bit different from our HTTP server because HTTP is not an encrypted protocol. So that's one thing to note. If you want to start practicing sniffing packets, you can't exactly do it with every single type of protocol. Since SMB is an encrypted protocol, excuse me, SMB2, you won't be able to see anything that's being passed between it. So I hope that kind of gives you a little taste of how WireShark is used and how it can be useful to either you or someone attacking your network. But yeah, that's just kind of a little introductory video. Hope you like it. If you have any questions, leave a comment or send email or talk with your classmates. So hope you enjoyed that video.